Coming up next on Heartland Highways, some people really love their flowers, and in this show we'll meet such a group called the Prairie Iris Society. This Central Illinois group cultivates, shares, and shows their irises. They'll tell us all about the beauties in this episode.
These are the falls, and these are the standards, and this is a beard. That's the landing spot for pollination for insects. And the beardless iris have no beard, they just have an area with a pretty decoration that attracts the bees. Well, they usually have 3 standards and 3 falls.
Okay.
But they have the novelty iris, which all the standards go down, make a flat form, like a Japanese iris.
Okay.
And they're called novelty iris when they all lay flat.
Then it's batter up as we take on 2 baseball-themed stories. First, we revisit the Danville Dans in their historic stadium. Then, Lakers Stadium in Paris, Illinois has a history in baseball, but it's all about a community effort that's keeping it going over the years.
I think the greatest thing about our community, watching it as a kid and growing up here, Paris, instead of a town of being why, has become the town of why not. And what we have to remember, as the song says, remember when. It's okay to remember when. We'll never go back to those days. But we can make new days and make them almost as good and sometimes better.
That's just ahead on this edition of Heartland Highways, so don't go away. Heartland Highways is made possible in part by EIU's Academy of Lifelong Learning, providing all community members an outlet for their educational, social, and creative pursuits. Opportunities to learn new skills, engage in topics of interest, and explore new areas of learning. Available for people of all ages. More information available at 581-5114. Welcome to another edition of Heartland Highways. Now, Kate, I know you've probably seen those purple irises that come into bloom in the late spring, but as you're about to see, those irises are just the tip of the irisberg.
Ah, I see what you did there. These flowers that are part of the lily family come not only in a variety of colors, but also sizes, with or without beards, plain or ruffled petals.
We met up with some local people who are truly passionate about this flower, and lucky for us, we happened to visit with our cameras during peak bloom time. Nothing says welcome to spring like the showy iris. Whether it's the common purple bearded iris or a blushing pink version with ruffled petals.
A lot of them came from Germany. They're called Germanic iris, and they were brought with the settlers when they came to the United States. They found a lot of species in China. In fact, a lot of the species iris come from China, and there's still some to be found. There are still people going out on expeditions just to find all these rare irises. But actually, the only species native to the United States are some of the wild irises, like Iris cristata, Iris fulva, Iris virginica, and we have a native species right here in Illinois called Virginica shrivii.
For Jerry and Melody Wilhoit, who live just outside of Kansas, Illinois, the iris is their flower of choice. Since 1980, they've grown and sold irises from their farm, every year adding more varieties.
Every day is a new day. I mean, you go out and you say, oh, that's beautiful. We've had so much rain, and you can really tell the tough guys and the wind to see who holds up. Mm-hmm. You can see who separates the men from the boys.
Well, we have 19 acres here, but we probably only have one and a half acres that are actually planted in iris.
And those 1.5 acres were in full bloom the day we visited the Wilhoits. The wide array of not only colors, but also sizes and styles is amazing, especially if you've only seen the more common purple variation.
Well, it grows from a rhizome, everybody always wants to know, I'm ready to order my bulbs. I say, we don't sell bulbs, we sell rhizomes. What? Rhizome is a fleshy unit like your hand that has roots that spread out, is a rhizome, where a bulb has everything stored in the bulb for next year. The rhizome has to grow a complete new root system when you plant it, where the bulb doesn't. It's ready to go next spring. So it really needs at least 6 weeks to grow before bad weather sets in. These are the falls, and these are the standards, and this is a beard. That's the landing spot for pollination for insects. And the beardless iris have no beard, they just have an area with a pretty decoration that attracts the bees. Well, they usually have 3 standards and 3 falls.
Okay.
But they have the novelty iris, which all the standards go down and make a flat form, like a Japanese iris.
Okay.
And they're called novelty iris when they all lay flat.
Irises come in 2 variations, bearded and beardless. The bearded types are grouped by size, from miniature dwarf up to tall bearded, which grows in height to 27 inches and above. They come in many color variations, but it's interesting to note that in the bearded iris you'll never find a true red. Hybridization of the iris gives it variety in color, size, and petal structure.
The original iris, the older antique iris that came with the Germanic people from Europe, were rather tailored, what people now would call doggy. But the falls fall down, but all the artistic people love to paint those. When people come to the garden to do pictures and paint from a picture, they always go to the one with the pendant falls. I guess it's more artistic. But as they've been hybridized through the years, they've gotten to be ruffled and round and lacy and more luxuriant than they used to be.
When it's first introduced, it can be fairly expensive. Usually people introduce a new variety from tall bearded from $40 to $60 for one rhizome.
And then they depreciate like cars. Next year it's much cheaper.
If you have enough variety of irises in the garden like the Wilhoits do, bloom time can start in late March and run through July. There are even some reblooming varieties that will go until November if they don't freeze. We filmed these shots during peak time, which was May 28, 2013. For true iris aficionados in our region, there's the Prairie Iris Society, which is an affiliate of the American Iris Society. Jerry and Melody were part of the founding of the group and still remain active today. Each year, the Society holds their annual iris show in late March, followed by an iris sale in August.
Well, it's an organization essentially to give one iris person, another iris person, some support, and others get together with similar interests and enjoy that and give different kinds of education. Some people know one particular kind of iris real well, and so they'll describe those and tell you how to handle them. And
I love the iris, I love all plants, but I think it's connection with the people who come and the people we've met from all over the United States and the world by going to the conventions. And we've made friends in every state in the Union, in Germany, Switzerland, France, Belgium. I mean, I would have never got to meet these people if it hadn't been for the irises.
If you'd like to purchase a copy of any Heartland Highways program, contact us at 1-877-727-9348 during regular business hours. You can also visit our online store at weiu.net or mail in your order with payment to the address on your screen. DVDs are available for $25 each. Visa, MasterCard, Discover, or American Express are accepted. Just let us know what show you're interested in by mentioning the story name or person featured in the show.
If baseball is America's pastime, then Danville Stadium is the place to be in the summer. The young and old have been coming to this ballpark for over a half century. Our colleague Ramin Carbacion, a baseball fan himself, brings us this story.
It is the place to be in the summertime. People from all walks of life, from little children to senior citizens, people that have been coming to this ballpark for all of its existence. And it has a place in the hearts of people in Danville.
Thank you. Go to the right so you can register for the bicycles and the stuff that they're giving away.
Danville Stadium, located on the south side of Danville, Illinois, has been welcoming baseball fans for over 6 decades.
I remember before it was built, this was sort of a wasted piece of land. And that's probably why they got it. I don't know that for sure, but that's probably why they got it, because it was rather inexpensive. Because there was a dump out behind center field, which they burned garbage at night, so it wasn't the most pleasant place sometimes. And they built this right after the war in 1946.
John Dowling of Watseka, Illinois, is a retired teacher. He has been coming to Danville Stadium since the very beginning. In fact, he has been to at least one game every year since the stadium's opening in 1946.
The stadium was built with an agreement by Branch Rickey, who of course started the farm system as we know it today. Some area businessmen led by Kish Bookwalter met Mr. Rickey in Decatur, Illinois, and formed an agreement. If Danville would build a stadium, he would put a Brooklyn Dodger Farm Club in here, and indeed, that's what happened. They came home and the dream became a reality.
In May of 1946, Danville Stadium opened its gates to baseball fans. And from 1946 to 1948, the Danville Dodgers called here home.
When they announced that the Brooklyn Dodgers was coming here as a farm club, I said to my dad, I would like to be the bat boy.
And 13-year-old John Dowling became just that, a bat boy, the first bat boy at the Danville Stadium.
This was the home the dugout here, and they had to go back home plate. And if the ball, of course the fence was a little different, the fence was back a little further, and if the ball went down that foul line, I had to go get it. Or if it went down this foul line, left or right, I had to go get it. And one of the compounding problems was, they had a knothole gang that sat in bleachers down there, and they were quicker than I was. They get the ball, and they went over that, it was a wood fence, they went over that fence before I got there. So I didn't get all of them, but I got most of them.
In 1947, Major League Baseball great Jackie Robinson played in an exhibition game witnessed by over 6,000 fans. Dowling, now an associate scout for the Atlanta Braves, moved up from bat boy to being in charge of ticket takers in 1948. Dowling has been a baseball scout for a decade and recalls some unique ball players that he has seen at Danville Stadium.
After the war, you got a lot of older guys. We had a guy named Joe Rancher. Joe was probably 26, 28 years old, which is too old for a minor league. But I've never seen the guy throw the ball. He played left field, and he had a trick where he had fielded the ground ball, and the guy was around the first. He would turn and make 2 steps like he missed the ball, and then turn around, throw the guy out second.
75 baseball players that called Danville Stadium home at one time have or are currently playing in Major League Baseball. One of the most recent, Jonathan Papelbon, is now the closer for the 2-time World Series champion Boston Red Sox. Even the great Bambino has stepped foot in Danville. Well, not the real Babe Ruth. In 1991, production began on the film The Babe, which was released in theaters in 1992.
They changed the configuration behind home plate because of the filming of The Babe when it was John Goodwin. The fences, distance-wise, are the same, pretty well the same. The dugouts are newer and better than that. I think the lighting is better.
2 years prior to Hollywood coming to Danville, a local organization, Danville Stadium Incorporated, started the revitalization of this old ballpark.
It was on its last legs. It was structurally unsafe. It had seen better years, to say the least, and it had been without a regular tenant for some time. So we entered into a long-term agreement with the city, and with that partnership, we have spent the last 19 years renovating the ballpark.
Today, Danville Stadium is host to local high school baseball teams, Danville Area Community College Baseball, and the Danville Dans of the Central Illinois Collegiate League.
So that's a big thing here, snow cones. Oh, if you get a foul ball in the stands, or the kids, when the foul ball goes out of the stands, here the kids go outside and they get a snow cone and they turn into baseball.
It is an old-time feel, and we keep it that way. Someone sings the national anthem. We don't have gimmicks and games on the field. If you walked into a ballpark in 1946 or you walked into this ballpark today, you would get pretty much the same feeling.
It's a jewel. I think it's a great thing for Danville to have. It's an inexpensive recreation.
Jeannie Cook remembers an occurrence that shows what the true meaning of the Danville Stadium is to its visitors.
The park had closed. I was sitting with all the lights off, just the lights up here in the press box, trying to get the score sheet to balance. I looked down and there was a gentleman sitting right behind home plate, and he didn't move, all the lights were on. Finally, I went down and I said to him, "Excuse me, can I help you?" And he turned around, he was an elderly gentleman, and there were tears coming down his cheeks. And I said, "Is something wrong?" And he said, "No. The last time I was in this ballpark, I was 11 years old. I caught a foul ball off a ball thrown by Carl Erskine of the Brooklyn Dodgers, and for just a little while, I felt like I was 11 again." And I think that story always comes back to me to remember why this ballpark is important.
If you build it, they will come. You've probably heard that famous quote in a popular baseball movie. And while the original Field of Dreams resides in Iowa, there's another field drawing people and players by the thousands to Paris, Illinois. Drive by Laker Stadium in Twin Lakes Park anytime during the summer and you're likely to find a ball game going on. But there's a lot more to this small town venue. As we found out traveling this Heartland highway, this stadium has one major league past. Kelly Runyon brings us this story.
Rather than a field of dreams, it's a field where many dreams have come true, especially for young ball players. The year was 1950, and when you mentioned baseball around central Illinois, everyone talked about the town of Paris. For about 3 months in the summer, Paris was the place to be. The Lakers' professional minor league team called this community home.
We actually established in 1950, and it was called the Paris Lakers at Laker Stadium here. We were a farm team of the Chicago Cubs. It went from 1950 to about 1959 being the last season. And we had a lot of great ball players, some major league ball players come through here, and this is kind of hallowed ground for us here.
And the fans thought that too. On any given game night, the turnstiles would welcome thousands of people to Laker Stadium. All wanted the chance to see a great game or a player that was moving on to the big leagues.
In 1956, we probably had over 60,000 people come to the ball games throughout the season, and that's pretty special back in those days, you know. And like I said, come Saturday night, this is a place to be.
We had many large light stands, many lights, and the sky was lit up for miles around. I can't tell you how far people came from, how far they came, but we used to have some huge crowds here, so just tremendous crowds, standing room only. We had many seats, many hundreds of seats here, permit seats, but we still had standing room only upon occasions, and it was very exciting.
Tom Tuttle never missed a game. That's because as a kid, he was the team's official foul ball chaser. That's right, he kept his eye on home plate, and when the ball was smacked, he tracked it everywhere it went. And if it crossed the fence, he was on the move.
And I sat just outside the first base fence on a cut-off telephone pole with a little wooden seat on top. And we're now standing in what was the right field parking lot. My job was to retrieve foul balls that came out in the parking lot and turn them in before kids on the inside could get out here and get them. If the kids got them, they got to keep them as a souvenir. And my job was to retrieve those balls before the kids got out here. And for that, I was paid the princely sum of $1 cash per night.
But more than just that princely sum, Tom Tuttle found something else more valuable around the ball field. And that was the chance to watch some of the best kick the dirt around at home plate. As a kid, he says nothing was better than that.
Lou Johnson was probably my favorite player. He played right field for the Lakers the last 2 or 3 seasons of their existence. 2 years later, he's playing right field for the Cubs. Did well there. They did trade him to the Dodgers in '62, and he played right field for the Dodgers. And it was fun to see his name in the box scores and realize that I've talked to that guy. Other fan favorites were Terry Jones, who was a very popular catcher, Nelson Matthews, a good outfielder, Danny Combs, a big power hitting outfielder, used to hit a lot of home runs.
And it was those drives over the fence that kept people coming back to the ball field night after night. But that would all come to an end. As time would have it, the team folded just prior to their 1960 season. Divots of dirt no longer turned in the field, bleachers empty. Time took its toll on Laker Stadium, and for years the only thing left of a great stadium was a substandard playing surface. Until 2007.
It was a vision of Bob Sinclair and myself back in 2007, and talked to some of the other kids out here and some of the conditions that the field was in, and realized it just wasn't acceptable for baseball. As much as Bob and I both love baseball, we envisioned some things, talked to the kids, listened to the kids and what they had to say and their ideas. And it went on for pretty much 2007 as Bob and I proceeded to plant some seeds with the city council and others in the community of what we might possibly do for this field. And eventually the wisdom of the city council went with forming a board. We are appointed by the city council as a board or governing board for the field.
And from there, with the help of hundreds of volunteers, Laker Field was going to be revived with a new playing field, dugouts, concessions, a top-notch facility for playing as it sits today.
Everybody just kind of chipped in whatever they did normally and put their resources into this field. And we paid as we went. And it's been an ongoing piece of work. Like I said, we started forming things, getting things engineered in 2007. We started doing a lot of work in 2008. We moved basically ready to play in 2009. And it's been a continuing piece of work since. I think the greatest thing about our community, watching it as a kid and growing up here, Paris, instead of a town of being why, has become the town of why not. And what we have to remember, as the song says, remember when. It's okay to remember when. We'll never go back to those days. But we can make new days and make them almost as good and sometimes better. We just gotta want to and quit asking why, say why not.
Watch Heartland Highways online anytime. Check us out on youtube.com/WEIUTV. Once you're there, just look for the Heartland Highways playlist, which will take you to a list of full episodes from seasons 9 through 12. And if you subscribe to our channel, you'll automatically be notified of when new programs are available to view. So sign up today. Thanks for watching Heartland Highways today.
You can learn more about our adventures on our website at WEIU.net.
We'll see you next time.
Heartland Highways is made possible in part by EIU's Academy of Lifelong Learning, providing all community members an outlet for their educational, social, and creative pursuits. Opportunities to learn new skills, engage in topics of interest, and explore new areas of learning. Available for people of all ages. More information available at 581-5114.